There I was, sat at my nan's dining table, not just enjoying the festive season, but also deeply engrossed in a 1 week hackathon challenge. And as I was typing away Solidity smart contracts on my laptop, a breakthrough hit me that this was not just another hackathon project. And in fact, I was onto something monumental, a new way to validate authenticity on the Ethereum network using the Ethereum Attestation Service. And in this video, I'm going to show you what that is, what it means, and how you can implement it into your application. My name is Hakeem, and I'm a Web3 engineer. My mission is to help you land your dream role in Web3. So let's begin. So I know you're wondering what the Ethereum Attestation Service is and why you should even care. First, let's define what we mean by authenticity. So picture this. You're in the Apple Store about to buy your MacBook Pro. And the reason why you're buying it is not that it's just a MacBook Pro, but because you know with 100% certainty that this is a real MacBook Pro. It's not going to be faked. You don't have to handle any disputes. And if you do, it's because you got a faulty product. But that's nothing to do with authenticity. Now, if you went to a cheap secondhand hardware store that also sold MacBook Pros, then you would question the validity of that MacBook. The allure of MacBooks is that it's not just a laptop, it's got a whole ecosystem, this whole philosophy that they stand by. So when you purchase one, you know that you're entering a whole new world. And it's that genuine commitment from Apple to being excellent at what they do that creates their loyal following. So, how has Web3 tackled this problem of authenticity so far? Well, we have NFTs or non fungible tokens, which represent digital assets and their authenticity. So things like music, art, um, in video game items, or even a tweet, anything digital can be represented through an NFT. And all that is a token on the blockchain that points to a given user's wallet address to say that they own this asset. That's all an NFT is. And what makes NFTs so special is that they can never be changed, they're permanent. So once they are issued to that user, only that user can reassign a new owner to their NFT if they choose. As we've seen, NFTs are fantastic for digital assets and tracking their authenticity. But what if we could take this concept even further and not just track digital assets, but real world ones too, and even more than that, perhaps somebody's reputation? Enter the Ethereum Attestation Service, what I have on screen right now. The Ethereum Attestation Service, or EAS for short, is a way to verify the authenticity of any kind of data. And the word attest itself means to uh, verify or make a claim that something is true. So I could attest to saying that I am the best developer on planet Earth, and surely everyone watching this can attest to that being true, or they can attest to it being false. And then we would have a collection of attestations that will say I either am or am not the best developer on planet Earth. And what's interesting about attestations is that they can be revoked. So maybe someone could say, hey, I think Keem is the best developer, but now I don't think so anymore. So they can be revoked. They are reversible. Whereas with an NFT, if you try to create a reputation system with an NFT, let's say I was given an NFT because I won #1 developer on planet Earth, right? I won that competition. What happens if I'm no longer the best developer on planet Earth and somebody else is, but I still have this NFT? Maybe make that NFT invalid somehow, but I still have the NFT. And some people could be confused by that. And you have to manage this whole asset as opposed to having an infrastructure level layer that says, yeah, this guy's legit, this guy's not legit. So EAS is much more broad than NFTs. Whilst NFTs track an asset, EAS can track an entire broad ecosystem of authentic data that isn't just tied to the digital world. So let's look into the documentation and see what we can do with it. So head over to attest.sh, which is the URL, and let's click on Start Exploring. Now, I will keep this high level. We won't go into the technical details just yet. That'll be in the next video. But just to understand how this all works and comes together, you'll see this what looks like Etherscan for EAS. So this scan or indexer tracks every single attestation, so people making claims, and what's called schemas, which I'll show you what it is in just a moment, and also how many unique wallet addresses or attesters have engaged with the service so far. First, let's talk about a schema. So let's head over to the schema tab, click on create schema. I think the best way to understand these schemas is to head over to documentation and look at some of the ideas that they've gave you. So example use cases, let's go on the reputation system, scroll down, and you're going to see a sample schema here. So this is for a freelancer. Let's say I'm a freelancer and here's a client who's attesting to my skills as a freelancer. So we have the name of the client, the quality of work that I delivered to them, my communication skills, my punctuality, the value that I gave to them, and would they recommend me. Probably the most important one here is the recommend. So as a freelancer, you can have this schema. So let's take this as an example. We're going to remove some of these fields and just have client name, work quality, and recommend. So let's have client name, work quality. So they're using a uint8 here. All that means in this context is it's a value from 0, so from 1 to 100. So that's why they're using a uint8. And then recommend. To be in Boolean. Now you'll notice a field here called a resolver address. This is probably the most powerful part and what I really want to dive into in the next video. But basically, this is the true power of these attestations. These things are actually what give the attestations integrity. So at the moment with Schema, we haven't deployed it yet, but when I do, anyone can attest to the schema. So some random guy who hates me could just spam me and say that I'm terrible. But with resolvers, they are smart contracts that will check to see, okay, is this guy actually a client of Hakim's? Or is he just some random ass dude who's just been a hater? So these are actually the core logic that you will need to make sure that the attestations are coming from a credible source. And then you will see an is revocable field here, which will say, can these attestations be revoked? So let's say someone said I was great, but then they noticed, oh, actually, this isn't so good now, or maybe I messed something up and it came to fruition later on, they can revoke that attestation. So let's hit create schema. We'll do silent transaction, and this is going to register a brand new schema on the blockchain. Once the schema has been registered, you'll see this screen here. As you can see, there is a unique UID which you'll need if you're trying to reference this schema. You will notice there's two kinds of attestation that can be made. So the client can attest to my developer skills either on chain, which would charge them gas, or they can just sign a signature off chain, which doesn't cost anything, but needs to be stored in something like IPFS or Arweave or some other decentralized database that is not on the blockchain. And then you'll notice a code sample segment here. So in the next video, I'm going to dive into how this works. It's super simple, really nice to work with. This SDK allows you to simply make attestations from your application. So let's attest with schema. Pick another wallet address. So let's pick, Web3 made. Copy this, paste it in here. Keep the dream. And then the work quality, 100, of course. Recommend true. So this would be, so as you can see here, we have off-chain or on-chain. We're going to go with on-chain for now, and then we can make an attestation. Now, once you've made an on-chain attestation, there's a particular field I want to point out on the screen. you'll notice a reference attestation and referencing attestations. So you can actually chain attestations together. Why is this important? Let me just show you right now. Back on the documentation, if I go to and find a reference, creating a reference attestation, you'll see this ref UID here. So imagine this is a sequence and the client makes an attestation to my skills, which then will trigger another function call to make an attestation to my rating as a developer. So client makes a attestation to me, that triggers some sort of resolver contract, which will then make an attestation to say, okay, based on this previous attestation from this client, your rating is now going to increase or decrease. And that will be tied into this ref UID field here. We can head back over to the schema ID here and see there's been one on-chain attestation. So you can imagine that for a reputation system or a schema that is tied to a reputation system in some way, you would have a collation, a huge collection of previous attestations or approvals from your past clients, which could then affect your rating as a freelancer. That's all for this high level overview. Let me know in the comments your thoughts on the EAS ecosystem and whether or not you think NFTs will be replaced by this form of verification. Although I did not win the hackathon, I got second place, I really did win because I got exposed to this amazing, innovative ecosystem I believe has a solid foundation in the future of Web3. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you guys soon.